Watching the Alien franchise is a lot like riding a roller coaster while it's being built. You get going and at first you're having a ton of fun, but then you suddenly fly off the tracks and crash into a fiery inferno. The builders then complete another section of track, so you hop back on only for it to crash again. Alien is obviously a classic and remains by far the best of the series in my opinion, thanks to its truck drivers and space aesthetic, fantastic practical effects, and the general feeling of terror in every scene. Aliens even had me on the edge of my seat, even though I'm not the world's biggest action movie fan. Although, I will settle one debate right here. Aliens is not better than Alien because they are not even kind of the same genre of movie, but that explanation is for a whole different video. Alien 3 was a good idea gone horribly wrong. Also, how am I just now finding out that movie was directed by David Fincher? Although I'll give the studio blame for that one because only corporate greed could justify this.
The bitch is back.
Really? Alien Resurrection was a baffling experience that adds just another layer of complexity to the absolute enigma that is Joss Whedon's writing career. Can we please stop pretending that Firefly was good, by the way? Prometheus exists. Alien Covenant was like watching a drunk guy try and say something philosophical, but in the end just kept repeating the same tired lines from whatever cable news station he was watching that day. And finally, we come to modern-ish day Alien. And I say ish because it seems like the franchise is having a sort of renaissance inspired by a halfway decent film and a video game that came out 10 years ago that everyone, including yours truly, have been screaming for a sequel to. Well, we got news the other day that it's finally coming. A sequel to Alien Isolation has been announced and is currently in the works at Creative Assembly and Sega. Among the coming Alien products that have been announced, I'm by far the most excited for this one, but I also can't help but have some reservations. For example, the last time Disney bought a franchise that I enjoyed, they brutally murdered it in front of my eyes with the power of 1,000 screaming feminists and then danced on its grave.
She is Prometheus, destroyer of childhoods.
On the other hand, Creative Assembly was able to come out with what is, in my opinion, one of the greatest video games ever made, during a time when the movies that had come out about the same time were, not so good. The difference is that, for as much of a genius as Ridley Scott used to be, his ego and desire to be something of a philosopher got the better of him with Prometheus. Alien Covenant was enjoyable when it resembled the original Alien, but when it tried to do something new, well, what is happening? But at least with those two movies, it doesn't seem to have been studio interference that hurt them. But with the latest installment, Alien Romulus, it feels like that may be changing. Romulus was a tale of two stories to me. Yeah, the characters aren't nearly as relatable or interesting as Ripley or the original crew, but there were some interesting stories there. The first act was a no-nonsense stripped-down version of Alien that gave us some more world-building, which was fascinating. The second act built on it with one of the coolest introductions of a horror villain I've ever seen, and then the third act completely blew it. It was like Fede Alvarez, I think that's how you pronounce his name, wanted to make a movie that was faithful to Alien, but then the studio came in and said, nah, Aliens was better, so let's just redo that instead. And I mean that literally. There are lines in Romulus that are stolen directly from Aliens, but far be it from a movie studio to let a good key jangling moment go to waste. Why come up with anything new when they can just remind you of that thing that you enjoyed decades ago and then promptly beat it to death under the crushing weight of their stacks of money? And don't get me wrong, I would likely watch Romulus again because I think it's probably the best of the most recent Alien movies, but studio interference absolutely seemed to be at play here, and that's what I'm most worried about with Alien Isolation 2. But they absolutely delivered on the first one, so here's hoping they're up to the task with the second. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. If you enjoyed Alien Isolation as much as I did, then consider dropping a like or even subscribing, and let me know what video games or movies I should review next.